Welcome back, focused learners. I'm so glad you're joining us today because we've got a fantastic explainer lined up. We're going to completely unpack the biggest takeaways from JSW Energy's recent Board of Directors meeting, which happened on May 11th, 2026. Now look, I know what you're thinking. Corporate year-end filings. Usually a great cure for insomnia, right? They're just a massive maze of legal jargon and regulatory fine print. But hey, that's exactly why we're here. We're going to cut right through all that noise, skip the confusing terminology, and give you the clear, bottom-line facts. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where this huge energy player stands as they close out their fiscal year.
Just to ground ourselves before we jump in, everything we're breaking down today comes straight from the official documentation. We're pulling this directly from the regulatory filings that JSW Energy submitted to the BSE and the National Stock Exchange of India. So there's no rumor mill here, no speculation, just the raw, unvarnished corporate data straight from the source, distilled down so it actually makes sense. So, what's on the docket? We'll start with the key board meeting decisions, specifically looking at the audit and financial results. After that, we'll get into everyone's favorite topic, dividends and the key dates you need to know. And finally, we'll wrap up with leadership and governance. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Audit and financial results. This is really the bottom line of the whole filing.
Okay, the single most interesting phrase you'll find in this section is unmodified opinion. This was issued by JSW Energy's statutory auditor, Deloitte Haskins & Sells LLP. And honestly, in the corporate finance world, an unmodified opinion is exactly what you want to hear. It's basically a clean bill of health. It means Deloitte looked over the financials and said, yep, these are presented fairly. No hidden material misstatements, no glaring red flags. For investors, this is the ultimate green light that the numbers they're looking at are actually reliable.
And this wasn't just a surface-level skim either. The scope of Deloitte's audit was incredibly deep. They looked at the standalone financial results for the parent company for Q4 and the full year ending March 31st, 2026. But they didn't stop there. They also did a thorough review of the consolidated financial results for that exact same time period. Why does that matter? Well, a massive conglomerate like JSW Energy operates with all sorts of subsidiaries, joint ventures, and associates. So a consolidated audit proves that this clean bill of health covers the entire group's operations. It gives us a truly comprehensive, panoramic view of their financial integrity.
To really drive this point home, check out Deloitte's exact phrasing from their independent auditor's report. They officially stated that the financials give a true and fair view in conformity with the recognition and measurement principles. That is a very formal way of confirming strict compliance with Indian accounting standards, the Companies Act of 2013, and all those meticulous SEBI regulations. It's just a rock-solid validation of JSW Energy's accounting practices and internal controls over the last year.
Moving right along to Section 2, Dividends and Key Dates. This is where we talk about shareholder returns.
Here is the massive takeaway if you're an investor. The board has officially recommended a dividend of 2 rupees per equity share. Now, considering each equity share has a face value of 10 rupees, we are talking about a solid 20% dividend for the 2025-26 financial year. It's a very direct, tangible reward for the company's members, and honestly, it sends a strong signal about the board's absolute confidence in their cash flow and overall profitability. But a recommendation is just step one. The real question is, when does that money actually hit your account? Well, assuming this 2 rupee dividend gets officially declared and approved by members at the upcoming annual general meeting, the payout will happen within 30 days of that EGM. Just keep in mind, like with all things, the filing explicitly notes that this is subject to standard tax deductions at the source. So let's look at how this calendar actually builds out, because if you're tracking this stock, these are the exact dates you're going to want to write down. First up, Friday, June 5th, 2026. That's the record date, basically the cutoff to figure out who is actually eligible for the dividend. Then, right after that, from Saturday, June 6th to Friday, June 12th, we hit the book closure period, meaning the register of members and share transfer books will be closed. And finally, the main event, Thursday, July 9th, 2026. That is when JSW Energy is holding its 32nd annual general meeting. Stringing these dates together is absolutely crucial if you want to make sure you get that dividend and participate in the meeting. All right, our final section today, Section 3, Leadership and Governance, looking at board appointments. The biggest governance update to come out of this May 11th meeting is about who is sitting at the table. The board has resolved to reappoint Mr. Rajiv Chaudhry as an independent director. They're recommending him to the members for a second consecutive 5-year term, which would officially kick off on July 14th, 2026. And really, keeping an independent director around who already deeply understands the company's incredibly complex operations, that is a massive strategic advantage. And when you actually look at Mr. Chaudhary's background, it's pretty obvious why they want to keep him around for another 5 years. His resume is just heavyweight. We're talking over 40 years of deep investment management experience. He's currently the founder and CEO of Sunsera Capital, and before that, he spent 15 years as founder and president of Digital Century Capital. But here's the part that I think is really fascinating. Back when he was a prominent securities analyst doing high-tech equity research for Goldman Sachs, he literally created the Goldman Sachs Tech Index and led their global semiconductor research team. You combine that kind of background with a master's in public administration from Harvard and an MBA from IEM Ahmedabad, and you've got a director bringing this incredibly rare mix of global macroeconomic insight, high-tech expertise, and serious investment acumen directly to an energy company's board. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from all this data. We've seen the clean, unmodified audit from Deloitte showing really solid financial footing. We've tracked the timeline for that 2 rupee 20% dividend payout. And we've seen the strategic reappointment of a brilliant analytical mind to the board of directors. So the question I want to leave you with today is this. Armed with all of these structured financial results, key dividend dates, and leadership insights, are your portfolios aligned and ready for JSW Energy's 32nd AGM on July 9th? Take this info, apply it to your own focused learning and investment strategies, and as always, keep asking those smart questions. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.